Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a fantastic summer. I don't know, it's summer here in the US now. So, summer evening, nice and toasty outside, about 100 degrees today. Hope everybody is doing well. Kounotori is the topic of the day. We're going to do an AMA with Miggy and Artie, as I believe that's what we're going to be doing. So, this will be it's the first AMA I've had in a long time. Really looking forward to it. Kounotori, I've been putting out some content for him for several weeks now, and I like what I see. Honestly, if you guys are kind of in the camp and have been watching what's going on behind the scenes, obviously for a very long time now, you guys are probably pretty excited about what they're doing, what they're working on. So, Kounotori, let's just get through some comments here. Some people coming in early, and I see somebody very familiar, Summers. It's been a long time, Summer, since I've seen or talked to you. Coming up, man. Keep it coming. I appreciate it. Always appreciate the support, Summers. Super cool guy. Thanks for coming in, man. Hope everything is good on your front. Sloth NZ, nice to see you. I love the avatar. Looks. I'm not even going to guess what it is. Some sort of a badger, beaver, something with maybe some weed glasses and a burger in your hand. I'm not sure, but I like it. It's kind of funny. Peter Sutton, morning all. Yep, morning. I'm sure wherever you're at, it is evening, running into evening time where I'm at in sunny Idaho, the great old US of A. Hello, Infinity Resolutions. Hello, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. I have not heard from the team as of yet, so hopefully we didn't get anything crossed. We'll get something going here pretty soon. Perlito Jr. Falcolan. Oh, I probably butchered that. I apologize. Let's see. It's a sloth. Because your name. Okay, I guess I could have guessed that. Right, it's a sloth. Thanks. Yeah, stupid Americans. All right, we've got. Looks like we've got somebody waiting in the background in the green room over here. Let's introduce Queenie. I
Hello.
said Miggy. I don't know why I said Miggy. I said it's Queenie. It's Queenie is here, all the way from Australia, I hear.
Yes, indeed. How are you?
I am fantastic. And then we've got Artie. I didn't mess up your name. Hello, how are you? Can you hear me? Artie?
All
right, Artie might be having a little technical difficulties. So how things going with you, Queenie?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, in Australia, our end of financial year was yesterday. So, I work in finance, so kind of glad to have that weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, so it's been a busy, how long does that last?
It kind of really ramps up in May. And so, yeah, May, June is just a lot.
Right.
Especially that last week of June. But yeah, it's I'm glad things are sort of petering out now.
Excellent. Let me adjust my camera here. Artie, can you hear me?
Yes, I could definitely hear you now.
There you are. All right. Okay. It's super cool to meet you guys. Artie and Queenie, obviously I've seen you guys in the background, doing your thing, and I'm out here just putting out some content for Kounotori. Always happy to do it. Can you just give us just a quick background of where Kounotori started and where it came from?
Yes, I definitely can. Like a lot of the dev team that you currently see, we've been here since day one. All initially started out as community members. The original founders, they set out to build something that was different, something that really revolved around people, and like-minded people, mind you. And what they were building was truly started off decentralized and evolved into what you see it is, what it is today. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So there was a move to go decentralized, and then you guys changed, or it was changed to maybe moving towards a centralized exchange instead.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it started as originally the exchange wasn't even going to be an exchange; it was just going to be a staking platform, and it was purely decentralized. But the guys who our original founders, they were basically just sick of getting rug pulled, and they wanted to build their own project and, focus on something that was built by the community and remained with the community at the center of it. And it sort of evolved from there. And now everyone that you see in the developer team, and myself included, we've been there since the start, but we weren't originally developers or anything like that.
Wow. So, and that's, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, the fact that I was shocked. I've heard the name, and I heard the name, 2 years ago almost. And I was shocked to see, still around. I mean, we just don't see that in this space right now. And I was talking to somebody earlier, and I was just thinking ahead, like 10 years. Or somebody said, hey, think of a project that burned 40 or 50% of their supply as soon as they came out, and think of a project that had reflections, right? And that brings us back to a time frame in crypto, which was about 2 years ago, when that was just a very popular thing to do, and everybody wanted to do kind of the same things. So to have you guys still around, I mean, is really kind of a bright spot, I think, in crypto, because I can almost guarantee that 99% of the projects that came out around the same time Kounotori started are gone.
Yeah.
So that's why it was so surprising to me. So how have you gotten through this bear market over the last 2 years, and just all of the craziness that's gone on?
By the skin of our teeth, I think.
Yes. Look, I won't lie to you. Everything has its ups and downs. KTO was definitely no different. Some say that we survived as long as we have, from the founders to the current dev team, because of one of the strict things we always stood by, our OHS, if you will, our open, honest, secure. Others, just said it was the drive of the project. For me, honestly, the way I truly seen it, and I've been around a long time, and I've seen the type of individuals that come into KTO and just who they are. They are a lot of different in a lot of ways, but very like-minded individuals, people who, really kind of stuck to KTO because they were looking for that place that they knew they can trust to kind of have their, investments in and relax, not worry. You know what I mean? And KTO has always tried its best to build that type of environment for investors.
Right. I get it. So, and just so if anybody doesn't know who I am, I started in crypto in probably early 2017, right? A long time ago. I mean, I was there during BitConnect. If you could all remember back to BitConnect, the massive Ponzi scheme. I'm not going to tell you I didn't have any money in it. I made a couple of bucks, but I knew what was coming for it. And then we had the crash, in early 2018. And then I kind of got out of it a little while, just basically let my my bag just sit, for about probably 2 years, and then started to slowly get back into it. So I've been around the crypto game a long time. Never been a developer. I don't, know the back end of putting out projects. And then just doing content this last a little more than a year now. I wanted to have fun. Nobody that I know, right? Nobody in my real world talks about crypto, cares about it, owns it, like nothing. So I really wanted to kind of put myself out there to have some like-minded people to talk to. Even if I was talking to myself, right? I was trying to get some more, better education in the crypto space. So that's kind of where I came from. So hang on a second. My little question thing is gone. So why a centralized? I mean, and I know you said centralized exchange. You want a place for people to come and put their money, and they feel like it's safe. Now, back in the day, it wasn't as big a deal as it is now. Right now, you can really see that to be true. People need a space where they're not going to put their money into an exchange and then have that exchange use that money, use their deposits for trading on their own benefit, and end up losing it. Right as a we know FTX. Default into that.
And Alameda, yeah.
Yeah, and Alameda, and you had so many others, right? Could you look forward and see those things coming? Like, because there are also other questions about you didn't renounce a contract, right? Which was unheard of back then, right? That, I mean, if you told me 2 years ago that you weren't going to renounce your contract, I could have guaranteed most of the people would have said, "Oh, they're going to be a scam. They're going to exit poll or rug pull." Right. And so I feel like somebody on the team, or maybe the whole, decided, these things we're going to keep it future proof, and these things are going to help us move forward in the future, not, just concentrate on today. How did that happen?
Do you want to go first, Artie, or?
You can go on this one.
Well, I was just going to say, so, I mean, I wouldn't say that the founders or even ourselves certainly aren't, we're not predicting the future. I think it was perhaps a little bit of, it was almost luck, I guess. Like it sounds like the wrong word to use considering what happened to people with those centralized exchanges, but it more just emphasized the hunch that they all had, which is that as crypto grows, so too will the scams, so too will, the pool of people who are going to be targeted. And by the same token, it's the centralized exchanges that are going to be welcomed first. They're going to be the ones who will work hand in hand with regulations when they come. They're going to be the ones who are viewed more favorably than, say the decentralized space. You've got your DeFi swaps and your staking platforms and such. And yeah, so it does seem a little counterintuitive, I think, to a lot of people that we do remain so centralized in what is supposed to be a decentralized space. But it's a point that I've made a few times since sort of entering the crypto space, and that is decentralization has been skewed from what it originally meant. So we are still decentralized by virtue of being on the blockchain. The whole point of decentralization in DeFi, decentralized finance, is about removing the middleman. It doesn't mean that the people producing products and projects and building things like exchanges aren't going to be centralized. You need that to be able to produce things. You need that to be able to get work done. And by virtue of that, we have a unique sort of aspect of our token being that sliding tax scale. Well, we wouldn't be able to do that, and we wouldn't be able to have these zero tax events or increase reflections and things if we renounce the contract.
Right.
And while it is deployed already, and therefore there are certain things that can't be changed anyway, just having that extra element of control and being able to tweak things to remain agile, I think that's actually one of the things that has contributed to our longevity. Is like we can, as we have recently, we saw that gas went up, so we thought, hey, let's try a month of no tax and see how that goes with enticing people or helping people continue to build their bag of KTO.
Do you can you look back and think of, like, for me as part of the community, to me, I think that it was genius to do that. And maybe it was an accident. Maybe you just thought, well, we just won't do it this time because maybe it'll help us, change some things in the future, even though that was not what people were doing at the time. It just seems genius to me that that's probably what enabled you to last this long, is being able to change with the times. Make those moves when you need to make those moves, and it will into the future. That way you didn't have to come out with V2, V3, and V4, and that's, you see obviously projects just implode, at that point, because the trust is lost, and then they think the team doesn't know what they're doing and all that stuff. So, I mean, to me, I just like to say it was absolutely a genius move on your part.
I mean, and you look at it, people love reflections, right? Who doesn't love to get something for something
Absolutely.
that they invest into? So it gave us that ability to adjust. When the project's running great, we can give more back. And that has always been KTO, is how much we can give back to the people who are loyal, to the people who want to be here. Queenie pretty much said it perfectly. If I had to sum it up, I can't speak for why the founders wanted the centralized exchange. I mean, sure, I can give you the business term when you look at it. Any utility that offers a financial structure is always going to be more successful in the long run. But I don't think that's every reason why we are so keen for the centralized world. It's security, as Queenie said. And look how many projects are out there, right? These projects, they fight in this world to come out into the spotlight. And there's a lot of really good projects out there that are doing it right. And the founders' original idea was to bring these projects together. And these projects have trouble surviving because of the expenses, the inadequate criteria that is kind of placed so high that it's almost unachievable for success. KTO wants to be that exchange where we give these projects the spotlight they deserve, the chance for real success. And it's not just that. It's not only are we moving into giving opportunity, but we're also driving things in a commercial way where it's not only earning but making it so that people could save money as well by utilizing a lot of the decentralized aspects in best practices. So for me, that's why I foresee a centralized exchange in the secure world, but in a decentralized way, so important.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's
Yeah,
really,
that makes sense.
yeah, and it's really a goal of blending the two. As we've said many times, we want to take the best aspects of both. We want to take that community drive, that sort of hands-off approach of like, it's up and running, it's there to perform a service. It's not there to scalp off of you. We're not here to become, billionaires off of your investment because we're trading it with, inside knowledge on someone else's project or exchange, or, we're not misappropriating funds. It sounds so silly,
Right.
but it's like, it shouldn't be that hard to do the right thing. But unfortunately, greed is a very powerful beast, I think, for a lot of people who run centralized exchanges. These ones we've seen with the downfall, I think they get caught up in the, it hasn't gone, nothing's happened, nothing bad's happened. Look, everyone's got their money, it's fine. But then it's fine until it's not fine.
Yeah. Then it comes crashing down.
Correct. And that big commitment to, and that big focus on the security, on the transparency, on people knowing that they're putting their funds in for the service of the staking rewards, for the ability to swap tokens in a secure manner. That is the service we are providing. That is it. Like we want it to be, it does what it says on the tin and nothing else.
Yeah. And I like how you said it shouldn't be that difficult to do the right thing, right? The business has a plan, right? There's a service involved. Customers come in, they expect a service. That's it. There shouldn't be any drama. They shouldn't have to wonder where their funds are, or if they go to withdraw, that they're actually going to be there, those kind of things. And that does seem very basic. And I want to ask a question that Peter Sutton here in the comments says, coins on a centralized exchange are considered a loan to that exchange. Can that be changed in the instance of the KTO? Now, and I know it's not all centralized exchanges. Of course, here in the U.S., we think of putting money just like putting money in the bank. Well, once you put money in the bank, unfortunately, it's now the bank's money, and the bank can do what they want with it. And hopefully, right, you're trusting them; it's going to be there when you want to withdraw it. Yes. How is that going to be different for Kounotori?
One of the things we have always talked about is how we are going to ensure that our investors' funds are held one-to-one, and just open visual aspects. How much money's in there, how much is available. It should always match. So the best way to really do it is to make it very visible up front and center. Making sure that all of our investors, anyone using the exchange, could see that firsthand. So maybe it's just a peace of mind factor, but sticking, our funds one-to-one and making sure all the money that is there can be taken out is absolutely essential.
And as for the treatment of the tokens in the exchange, well, yes, by standard measures, they are considered loans, but whether or not that can be reclassified or treated differently or whatever is kind of subject to a bit more like legal counsel, which obviously we will need as we really go to set things off and to launch the exchange proper. So if there is a much better accounting trick we can do that is allows us to remain complying and follow all of the regulations, obviously with more coming out every day, it is something that we constantly have to adapt to, and will have to. So yeah, no clear answer on that. There's no plan for it to be, actually, we're going to treat it as this yet, but it doesn't mean that we aren't considering it.
Gotcha.
It'll just require much more qualified professionals than ourselves who are going to be
and
obviously critical to launching this.
that does make sense because as we go forward and we learn these new things and there are new regulations and laws put out, obviously, everybody's going to have to start adhering. We just heard, KuCoin, one of the bigger exchanges out there, right? They're switching to KYC now. Everybody's going to have to, KYC, and everybody's, a lot of people are complaining because that's why they think they got into crypto, was so they can hide and be their own bank and kind of get over on the government, sort of thing. And I always push back on that because I kind of thought that in the beginning too, right? Pie-eyed and dreaming of all of those things. And then you come to the realization that no government or even the very largest of the financial institutions out there are going to allow that. At the end of the day, once this thing gets going, that control is going to have to be there. The KYC and the AMLs and all of that stuff is going to have to exist in order for you to exist as a business. So, and that gets us into the next topic, which if you want to touch on regulation, right? And we weren't worrying about this 2 years ago. We weren't really,
of course.
I mean, maybe you were just trying to look forward, but nobody else we really saw this coming. And now we've received the SEC just, pouncing on everybody they can to see what sticks, right? How are you going to work towards that?
It is, as you said, that, they were never going to allow this to happen. If crypto wasn't going to be crushed, it was going to conform. That was the only way that the world will ever allow it to exist. And I do have a bit of insight because I work in finance, and I have seen even though the industry I work in is quite niche, I've seen it try to adapt to crypto, and it's been quite interesting seeing the way auditors are trying to handle it when they have no idea what they're talking about. And you've got people who are trying to get help with their personal tax returns, where they've gone, I've invested in crypto, and you've got all these accountants frantically going, okay, I need to learn how this works so that I can update my qualifications. So I think we always expected regulations, and there are definitely going to be licenses and regulations and all of that fun, extremely dry stuff that need to be applied for and obtained, which are definitely in the works, but it's again a matter of kind of legal counsel and making sure that we don't A, waste time and effort getting ones we don't need, and B, don't overlook any either.
Right. So do you have legal counsel that has that kind of experience? Obviously it's hard to have that kind of experience since we really haven't gone through that cycle yet, but that are kind of on the front lines, let's say.
So KTO definitely has legal advice on board. We do currently work with a lawyer. When it comes to KTO and the way we always manage things, look, we're not going to know everything. We're not. I mean, if anybody claims to ever know it all, then they're lying to you, right? And
Right.
Nobody knows it all. Nobody can know it all. There's too much to consume. I look at regulations, and the way I perceive regulations is the way I perceive crypto, or pretty much everything. A lot of things you see in everyday life, it's ever changing. Just like crypto updates, so too will regulations. It is absolutely one of our strongest state of minds, where we'll always make sure the person whose job to do that in a professional manner is on board with KTO. We won't ever attempt to attack anything that we can't fully devote the time to always understand, because it can change. I mean, it probably changed as I'm talking right now. You know what I mean? It's just the way it works. Mm-hmm. So having somebody that's in their profession will, be a part of KTO in the future when, on the board member, so on and so forth. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's good to hear, because I know there are a lot of projects out there that think they're going to skate by, right? They think, no, we're going to fight the man and we're just going to skate by and we're going to be okay because decentralization and crypto and all that. But I think you guys are taking a much more realistic approach to it, which is good to hear.
It's like when you get those tokens, especially back 2 years ago, where they were like, we're going to be the new global currency. And I'm like, you're not. I'm sorry, but you're not.
I argue with people daily about that. Their new thing is, they're going to take all the money. And I don't know if you know me, but I'm into XRP, pretty heavily, right? I'm not necessarily a fan of the token. I think I know what it's going to do at some point in the future. But even then, as much as Ripple has done, pushing their project forward, right? And they've been doing it for over a decade. they're still not going to move all the money. There's going to be many, many different projects and companies that are going to be helping do that. So just
I mean,
like
there's
centralized
that new
exchanges.
MasterCard one coming
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Bank
exactly.
of Fidelity's in there now. BlackRock, UK is starting to pull out their regulations and really pushing forth. I mean,
The only only global currency like blockchain. Sorry, that was just like words. That was not even a sentence. The only global aspect I think we're going to see for any currency is going to be when countries bring out their own stable coins, when governments
absolutely.
bring out their own. That's going to be the
Right.
first thing we see.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to see society almost collapse and then come back from it to see some random token become a global currency. You know what I mean? Like there's just it's too big of a beast, and that we shouldn't be trying to. We're not here to do David and Goliath. We're just here to provide a service and do it right, and just give people that peace of mind. Like I don't use centralized exchanges bar one, and I wouldn't even say that I necessarily trust them. I just use them as an on ramp, off ramp, right? And there's always going to be people who want to do that, but part of that reason for me is because there simply isn't a centralized exchange that meets what I need to feel comfortable, which is ideally what KTO is going to provide. It is that transparent proof of reserves, knowing that they're not lending out the money that they're or the tokens that they're being that they're holding. And so I think there is a gap in the market. It is niche, but I think there is actually an identifiable gap there, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel to take advantage of it.
Yeah, you just need to do the right thing, right? I mean, that's kind of what it's all about, and that sounds like kind of what your mantra is. Just let's just do the right thing, and then the business will come.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit more about specific to KTO, and this is just a general question that everybody wants to know, right? When they get into any kind of a project, does the team hold tokens?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we definitely do. Remember, we were, I mean,
Always first.
Yep, we were all community first, so it's
Right.
it's safe to say we're all holders.
And I think the important thing as well is that part of the challenge, because KTO is 2 years old, right, or almost, and it's easy to think of it as being a project that is that old. But when you have a full change of development team and the company around it, the company building the exchange, everything to that all changed. So in reality, we're like a 6-month-old project. There are still a lot of things that had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Things had to be taken apart, put back together, made sure that they were working. And so one of the challenges for us has been that we don't have a budget. Everything that we have had access to spend has been from the taxes, which it hasn't, like, we had a great run in February, March, sort of when the team did change, and we saw that big uptick, which was fantastic because that's pretty much what allowed us to pay for the exchange development and make a big massive down payment on that. But we were never the team who had vested tokens. That was the founders. So the founders had their budget, the steadily released amounts of tokens, to spend and to use, but we've never had that. So all the KTO that we hold, the developers, myself, and I think pretty much everybody on the team, sort of marketing wise, that's all just what we've bought ourselves. Or they were original team members who might have been like moderators at the start or marketers at the start who got paid some of those vested tokens as part of the budget. But majority of everybody's bags are all just tokens that we bought ourselves.
Just your own personal stuff. So you're not having to basically dump a lot of tokens on the market in order to fund something.
Correct.
I know we've just seen another project I'm not going to name, Centralized Exchange, they were working on. And they basically had to do that. It's just the way it was set up in the beginning. And I think everybody gets it. Like, hey, we know you have to have money in order to build this thing. That makes total sense. Yeah. But the way in which you get that money or change that, the token into money makes a difference, right? And that makes a difference to the community. Yes. So that's smart, good thinking. And around that same thing is paying rewards. Right. So if you're going to pay rewards for these, staking, things like that, you decided to pay in stable coins instead of in the native KTO token. Why? How did that come about?
So one of the original ideas was around it is the founders initially came up with a baseline to that idea, and the idea was is that a lot of projects would pay staking percentages in the native token. Well, there's two negatives to that. One, if they want to take their money after they're paid, they've obviously got to affect the price. And two, it also seems like if you're paying in the native token, you're kind of forcing them to sell if they want money. So what better way to do it than to let them decide on exactly how they want to spend their money for the rewards that they have earned. And that is paying in stable.
Yeah, and that also lends to the idea that they can then use their reward, their stablecoin reward, to purchase tokens, right? I mean, that I think it gives you a bit of uh, positive influence, for
Yes.
that stakeholder, right? So, hey, I don't have to sell these tokens now. I can just sit on this stablecoin, or I can decide because I like this. They're paying me the way I think they should pay me. Now I'm going to invest a little bit more so I can get a little
Exactly.
bit more on the back end. You know what I mean? It's kind of that cycle. So that was another very positive thing that I noticed about the project. And
And
then
it
go ahead.
also ties into the to that thought of, as I said, we're not here to be the new global currency. Like, we recognize that if we pay in KTO, if you, like as Artie said, if you want to spend that money in the real world, you need it to be, it needs to be fiat. And if you want to sit on it and accumulate a bit, because say you only got $20 in rewards this week, but a few weeks from now it's going to accumulate and then it will be worth taking out. You don't want it to then be like, oh, I thought it was going to be worth $200 in 6 weeks, but actually it's only worth $50 now because the
Yeah.
price changed. So,
Everybody loves that what you see is what you get factor, right? I mean,
Right.
yeah,
yeah, I'm paid $100 in rewards. Well, I know I have $100.
correct.
If I'm paid in a native token or any other token for that matter, well, you don't know what the price is going to be worth by storing it. Just as Queenie just said. Actually, Queenie, I'm just repeating you at this point.
So where did I'm just looking at the website, and I noticed the anti-sandwich attack. That I'm assuming that had to have been some sort of something new, because we did not see these kind of things back,
Yes.
2 years ago when Kounotori started.
That
So was this
one's
something that was added?
been a hot topic lately.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
There's been a trend of, as I said, when we took over, we did kind of have to pop the hood and see what was underneath, so to speak. It is a little bit, it's something that we need to revisit marketing wise, because back then the mechanic that's in place in our contract, it is anti-sandwich, don't get me wrong, it does work,
Yes.
but it worked for sandwich bots back then.
Yes.
So we did see
Okay.
recently, when we turned the tax off, we did actually see certain sandwich chains bot pop into our token and try and give it a whirl. And he did actually technically pull off a sandwich attack, and it's because the way it is coded is that it's supposed to be, you can't pull it off because you can only do one transaction per block. Well, the way it's done that is that it's one address can do a transaction per block. So if they're utilizing multiple addresses, they can actually technically pull it off. But back then, that wasn't really how most mev bots were run.
Yes.
So a little bit of a rude shock, I guess, because we do have that slogan there, and it isn't technically false. As I said, we do have a mechanic in there that stops people being able to do it with ease, but it does look like sort of newer mev bots that have maybe gotten a little bit sneakier have ways of getting around that.
So I've kind of done my research, and now I reached out to the original creator. I won't drop any names on who it is, but the creator of our contract, and he did confirm that it is definitely an older version of the anti-block. But he also relayed other information as far as, look, you're going to see mev bots penetrate contracts all over the place. You notice it in their contract, it doesn't happen a lot. Well, obviously, clearly, most mev bots avoid projects with tax. Before coming out, I'd like to see how mev bots function. But when you look at our contracts, even if we were to turn the taxes off, and even if we had updated blocks in place to fight new age mev bots. They're just going to get more sophisticated. I mean, it's just the way the world works, and people just, I mean, you think you're the smartest person in the room until somebody comes along and says, "Hey, guess what? I made something that's smarter."
Right.
And it happens on a daily basis. You see them all over the place. But what's nice about KTO is you don't see them often at all.
Yeah, and I
Right.
mean, look, some protections are better than none. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
we like. I guess that's where the shock, well, not even shock, it's just concern arises for us because, as we've said, we want to do the right thing. We want to make sure that we're always honest with our holders. And because we have taken over a project that we didn't create, obviously there's always going to be a little bit of like discovery of things that maybe aren't exactly how we thought they worked or how things have changed. So there are still those measures in place. As Artie said, we experience far less MEV bots on our in our trading pools than a lot of other tokens, which is really good. But yes, it's been a very, very recent discovery that even we are not immune.
Yeah, I thought it was unusual because when I'm reading the anti-sandwich attack, right, and that's not something that the general public has really heard in crypto until recently. So back in the day, I didn't realize that there were sandwich attacks back then, and that's obviously I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't really that far into it. But that just goes to the honesty and transparency, right? Where you guys can say it's not going to be perfect, right? It's always going to be playing catch up to the technology and improving, the product and the service, and that's just what a business does. So that's there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. I want to take a question from the comments here. Infinity Resolutions says big buy pressure from stake tokens by buying back? Question. Would there be a feature to auto buyback through staking?
As in, kind of like how you would use a dividend reinvestment plan in traditional shares? I think that's a great idea. It's definitely something that we can look to implement, and that's sort of the beauty of KTO and our sort of vision for having that Nest Council as well, is having community initiatives implemented into the exchange. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do an automatic rollover to repurchase. That would be a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, as we always say, suggestions channel, Q&A channels, we do not just skip over them. Maybe we don't respond to them right away, but all of your ideas, all of your questions, they make us think of things that, we don't necessarily have our brains wrapped around. So please post them in there. And we will sit down as a team, as we always do, and go over and discuss and see what it'll come to.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's good. If you guys, whoever's listening to this out there, if you're watching a video playback of this, then go to the Discord and check out, there's questions and answers in there. Obviously, you can ask questions as you go, or just read through old posts, like I like to do, and kind of get caught up on things. So moving forward, obviously you're building a centralized exchange. You're going to have staking, through NFTs, which is going to help reduce trading costs. It's going to help reduce or increase the APR you may be getting back on staking. And I know you guys were saying that staking platform was basically the initial concept, and I'm assuming that held through the entire time. Like you wanted to incorporate that somehow. So, can you explain to those who don't know how that staking is really going to be integrated into the exchange itself?
Absolutely. Do you want to take it, Adi, or shall I?
Go for it. I don't have it in front of me.
Passing the bucket. So yeah, I mean, plenty of centralized exchanges offer staking or yield farming or anything like that. So anybody who's familiar with that has a good idea. Essentially, what we want to do is we're big believers in making sure that if we put something out, it's not just for the hype factor or to get people to buy it. You know what I mean? Like we want the utility to always be the first, the main point. So the NFTs, it was important to us to make sure that they had a benefit. So what better way than to use them to increase how much you can earn and decrease your trading fees. So that's sort of how the NFTs will work. They'll be staked, and I mean, the intricacies around it, again, because we're still in the early development phases, it is sort of a technical aspect that we are discussing with Tech Alchemy. We need to sort of see the live demos first before we can give a, exact, like, you go here, you click here, and you lock it for 12 months. You know what I mean? Like, all of the intricacies of it are very much still subject to change, but the percentages that we announced more recently were the important part. Same goes for the token. The important thing with KTO is that our product and what this project is about is our exchange. The token is a means to an end. It's almost like, it was just fundraising in the crypto space rather than traditional investors. If we were to just be a normal company who got, did a seed investment round or anything like that. So the token is, of course, still important to us, but the main thing is that our project is the exchange. So how do we reward people? Well, have a unique and high staking return of, as you can see, 20% for when you stake KTO and only KTO. So, it's our way of saying thank you for helping to fund this exchange. Here is us giving back, making sure we bake in that utility, making sure that the token isn't just going to sit in your wallet after the exchange is done and be like, okay, well, what was the point of that? We want to make sure we're giving back. We want to make sure that there was a real reward on top of, seeing the project actually completed.
Well, it seems like it was a hit when it came out, because when I was doing some research for a video on the NFTs, it didn't seem like there were a lot that were for sale.
No, well, because they were originally gifts from the founders.
So I was looking, I'm thinking, well, I should obviously, pick up a couple here, and I noticed there were really not a lot for sale. So
yeah, so that was part of the reason that we reconfigured the percentages, is because we wanted to decentivize hoarding, because originally it was going to be you could stack them to increase your the amount of fees that you were reducing or how much percentage you were getting, but it didn't really allow for much growth or trading volume for those NFTs. So that's partly why we reconfigured it, so that you only want at most one of each. Because we wanted people to actually have an opportunity to get them, because originally the founders created them, minted them, gave them out to people on the basis of how long they'd been holding, whether or not they had sold, whether or not they had sold at all. So like the Nintai, for example, it was for people who had bought before a certain time and had never sold a single token, I believe. I think it was never sold. And I think it was OGs they had sold less than 5%, something like that.
Interesting.
And then value was just if you'd bought before a certain time.
I mean, as a community member, knowing what they were going to do, even I hoarded them. So
yeah.
Nice.
It's funny. It's like some of our biggest holders of the NFTs, like our CTO Jax, for example, he had probably most of them, but he was one of the first people to be like, all right, we need to give people a reason to stop hoarding them. And I'm like, you are hoarding them.
So stop hoarding them. Yeah.
But people also need a reason to want to buy them as well.
So Wadi, the crypto hunter, is here, and hi Wadi, good to see you. He has a good question, and this is a big concern, I know, and the SEC has made a point of this recently. Are you guys concerned about the SEC and staking and the staking rewards?
I could take that one. The answer to that question is we're always going to be concerned, because we've always got to follow exactly what they're trying to do. Are we worried? No. KTO is in a very interesting spot as regulations are starting to evolve and talked about more frequently. And the crypto space is changing continuously. The nice part about where KTO is at is we are currently building in the middle of all of it. It's all about adapting, right? I mean, that word adapt in the crypto space is just something that will always be used continuously. And KTO will be no different. The dev team and professionals we bring on board will always be on top of what the SEC is doing. And we will, sorry if you guys could hear that, I have fireworks going off next to my house. I lost my train of thought after that one. But yes, I mean, I wouldn't say so much it's a worry. but it's always something we're going to stay on top of.
And I think as well, a lot of the people who've been hit by it are people who are, as I mentioned before, they're doing more than what it says on the tin. They're not necessarily, they're saying one thing and perhaps doing several others at the same time, which is what raises the alarm bells. And again, it is sensible to be concerned and to be prepared, but at the same time, until they actually provide regulations and guidelines for people to follow, it's kind of a catch-22, you know. It's like, well,
Right.
if you don't give us rules to follow, how can we help but break them, you know?
Yeah.
And if you do give us rules to follow, well, then we will follow them because that's what we want to do. So, you know, it's an ever-evolving space, and fortunately, I mean, it would be a hassle, and hopefully we don't have to, but much like other large exchanges have said, if the US, who seem to be sort of helming this charge of getting in the way, is if they're not willing to provide an infrastructure where regulations are in place, then if we have to relocate our base operations to elsewhere, then we can do that. You know, we're not going to let it prevent us from completing the project and from carrying out the activities that we promised to do.
Got it. And I'll just, you know, for me, on behalf of myself, I will apologize for the SEC and U.S. Congress for not doing anything up to this point. They've literally done nothing to help. As you've seen, Coinbase, Robinhood sat in a congressional hearing, you know, gave testimony on that. They've been begging the SEC to just give us some guidance, tell us what we need to do. We want to comply with the law, and it's crickets.
Yeah, they're just like, you broke the rules, and you're like, what rules? There are no rules. And they're like, but you broke them, and you're like, but there are no rules. Give us some rules.
They say, you know, those rules that we established in the 1930s? Yeah, those rules.
Before we even had internet or crypto or computers. It's certainly fascinating, but you know, like I said, we're interested in doing the right thing, and we'll take every step that we can to do that. And if it does, you know, worst case scenario gets to a point where we're going, hey, we want to get up and running and we're ready to be up and running, and there's still no guidance, or we still feel, you know, uncomfortable with it, then we cross that bridge when we get to it.
So where is your home of operation?
Delaware.
Okay, so you're established in the US already.
Yes. Yeah, we're a C Corp. So when we took over, that's kind of what I was saying before, where like we are actually only a 6-month-old company or project because we had to rebuild from the ground up and take over from a UK-based company.
Gotcha. Okay, and I think I was watching an older AMA that somebody was talking about moving base to the US. So okay, so now I'm caught up on that part. So where are you in regards to alpha testing? And for those of you who don't know out there, you know, they've got a basic architecture built, you know, for this exchange and how it's going to look, and they offer what they call an alpha testing, right, which is maybe before the public beta testing. So you can apply and get your name in there, and then you
can put $10 trillion in your wallet. It's very fun.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was really cool. I'm a millionaire. How is that going, and what kind of feedback are you getting from that?
Good. You know, I can tell you that there's been several hundreds of entries that, you know, people have made it. Some made it to the KYC and didn't go any further. But a majority of the people definitely logged in through the KYC, went through the process, and definitely were playing around with it. There's been a few people who have been capable of breaking it in ways. But again, it's alpha. You know, that's what it's for. I think one of our long-term community members, Owl, holds the record for whatever he did to it. I can't tell you exactly what it was. Again, if Jax was here, he probably could. But he holds the record right now. We definitely want people still in there testing it out, playing around with it. You know, one of the things where we've been pushing for and are very interested in is a rolling beta. Something that I initially brought up with Tech Alchemy a while back is, you know, I never found it educational to build something in a mass and then just throw it at somebody, right? I mean, who wants to do that? Because then you've got to go through 50 different things. And even though our exchange is definitely built for simplicity, which is one of our major goals, because crypto is complicated enough, there's zero reason why it should be complicated. is we're going to have a rolling beta where, as the features are developed, you know, a lot of the community members, they, you know, that the founders set promises with long-term holders, you know, people who own Nintai, so on and so forth, are going to be the first to test it. Well, they get to test it as it rolls out. And for me, that I think that's much better than just throwing it on the doorstep and saying, have at it.
Yeah, and we're currently in an established schedule of meeting with Tech Alchemy once a week. So we actually had one with them last night, well, night for me, and they're doing really well. So they presented us with you know, a development schedule laid out in sprints and milestones. So sprints being every 2 weeks. So down to the nitty gritty of like, we're working on the footer this week, you know, like we're working on the About Us page. We're working, you know, it's very dry, but it's good. I mean, it's interesting for us, but you know, it's not much of an update for people, I think. And Artie, unprofessional, put it on silent. But yeah, so they've laid that out. So we're hoping to get a internal demo next week, so a demo presentation. So Jax will be there. I think I will likely be as well, since we're the same time zone, same house. And then yeah, have a look at what. Sorry, tongue-tied. Have a look at what they've done so far. So they've been amazing with listening to our feedback and making sure that they're prioritizing the things that we, you know, that there are elements that you need for the exchange, and there are elements that we've promised, things that are just sort of part of it, but not necessarily important. So they're really amazing at just like customizing and moving milestones and sprints around to make it, you know, make sure that we're prioritizing the things that are important to us, like the staking functionality, for example. And I think I can see that KTO Hope asked if the beta release will still be around September, October. So far, yes, that's what we're expecting. That'll be, so basically we're expecting betas at the end of each milestone. So milestone 2 should be completed around that mark, provided that there's no delays, or that they don't do things quicker as well, because 2 weeks is sort of a placeholder amount of time, but it doesn't necessarily take 2 weeks to do every single thing that they're doing for those time periods. And so I think if we do base it off the milestones, there will be milestone 2, 3, 4. I think 4 and 5 are combined because one of them's small. So I think at least 3 betas is what we're slated for at the moment. With, I mean, I would expect full release, again, barring any complications or someone, you know, in the second beta finding a critical flaw that needs to be fixed or whatever, which is, you know, part of the fun of testing. It would definitely be next year before we see the full launch, absolutely. But I'm mostly just looking forward to the first beta, because, you know, it's really difficult to market a project where you don't have the product yet.
Yes.
The alpha is good, and it gives you an idea, but it's a glorified login portal and give yourself some money and that's it, you know, like it's very bare bones. And we know that, but the beta launch, the lead up to it, marketing ramps up, getting people involved, getting people to use it. And there are plenty of people who are interested in our exchange who don't necessarily care about buying the token. And that's kind of what I mean by like, the exchange is our product. The token is just, hey, if you support us, you've bought a token that will be rewarded extra on the exchange. So yeah, looking forward to it. So far, so good. We are on track.
That brings up a good question. So and this is just from my own personal experience learning, you know, and growing over the last couple of years in this space, and it's been very rough, you know, rug pulls abound. The one question, whenever I look into a project about, do I want to put some money in? Do I want to get behind it? Is knowing the difference between project utility and token utility, right? Because a lot of people who get into this, they don't understand that what may be great for the project and may earn them money, but how does that translate to the token I'm actually holding, right? And that it's not a 1-to-1 ratio there. So how would you explain your project utility for Kounotori, the company, versus the token utility for those that hold it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not sure if Artie's talking elsewhere or if he might be, not sure. So yeah, the key difference really is that the token's utility for now is that access to that increased APY. So having that 20%, having that higher yield, also the reflections, will reward you for, because you've bought into the project early, you've helped support us, you've helped fund the exchange, because the taxes on the token is what pays for it. You're getting reflections back. We do our best to try and increase that where we can, and incentivize people to hold, or to reward them for holding early. And we want to bake as much utility for the token into the exchange as possible. But as I said, and as we're sort of reiterating now, the project, the company, is about the exchange. That is our product. So, perhaps a weird analogy, but say Netflix was a crypto project and they had a token, right? And it's like, Flix token gives you a cheaper subscription on Netflix, but at the end of the day, Netflix's service, their product, is streaming. It is providing entertainment, or access to entertainment through streaming. So that is what we're about. So we want to make sure that we don't, punish or leave people in the dust who hold the token. Don't forget, we all hold it as well. Of course, we want to see reward for it. But at the end of the day, what we are focused on, what our goal is, what we need to achieve, and what we have promised is a functioning centralized exchange that ticks all the boxes that we've said for transparency and security. So yeah, that's what you're getting when you buy into this project. You are wanting to see this exchange built so that you can use it. And the reward that we promise to you is, as we said, the staking rewards for the token and the NFTs, etc. Any way that you've supported us, we will try and bake as much utility back into it as possible.
I'd just like to take a second here and say hi to Daniel Gayton. He's hanging out there, lurking in the background. He says, building in the bear market, adjusting to regulations while you build, all advantages to the project. Yeah. Good to see you,
They don't feel like advantages in the moment, let me tell you. It's been difficult. It's been very, very difficult.
And I imagine it'll be that way for some time, right? It's as new things come out. And like you said before, this is a great advantage for you. If you had done everything and got everything done, 6 months ago, you'd be fighting it right now. And you never know what would happen if somebody comes to, throws a lawsuit on your doorstep. I mean, that obviously that has very bad implications for the business. I think you guys really kind of, and maybe luck played part of that as well, as you guys have really kind of slid in there, kind of in the sweet spot where you can sit back, take notes, make adjustments as needed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And position ourselves for the next upswing is really the best thing we can do. Take advantage in the resurgence of interest and confidence.
Crypto Lounge would like to know, are there going to be strict requirements to keep out worthless tokens? And this one, I think I know the answer to, but you guys go ahead.
Yes, we definitely will have a very strong vetting process for the tokens that are listed on the exchange. We'll have teams that are very suited to listing teams that are very suited to find these projects or vet the projects that come to us. Yeah.
But also, in our more recent updates, that is kind of why we've created that. I mean, to be renamed likely, but the blue and green categories. So we want to give people more exposure to DeFi and to those, meme tokens and degen plays, so to speak. Obviously, keep a level of security. We're not going to go listing honeypots and things like that, obviously, but give a wider variety than other exchanges because, having been on the other end of it, they are downright predatory on these small projects that want to get listed. The listing fees are absurd, whereas, a bigger token, all it needs is enough volume and they'll just list it for free. So we definitely want to offer a wide variety and not just the established altcoins and things like that. But absolutely a listing criteria will be in place, and there will be specific criteria that has to be met before we'll even bring them into the green zone, so to speak.
So you're not looking to keep out meme coins per se. No. It's just you're going to look into it. I mean, like,
that's so would you list here?
Right. So you would list a Pepe token or whatever, I guess, unless you see something that kind of throws red flags.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, provided that the contract's all kosher and there's not anything suspicious about it, and it's not a honeypot. I imagine kind of similar to to anybody who's perused DEX tools, they give a rating based on things like how much liquidity there is, how long it's even been out, and things like that. So as we've experienced with our tax, that thing is not the most accurate measure, because they're just like, oh, tax is 3.7%. We're like, it's never been 3.7%. Where are they getting that number from? But there are certain things that indicate whether or not a project is legitimate or not, and regardless of your opinion on meme tokens and whether or not they're basically just gambling and lottery tickets, it's still, as long as it's not going to be direct harm, I don't see why we shouldn't offer people the option to buy them. Because, by listing them, we're not saying I can see how some people would think it means that we endorse it, but it's more like we want to provide as much avenue for purchase and for trading as possible while protecting people, because that's what people go to centralized exchanges for.
So let's say, for example, if I go to KuCoin and I want to buy Pepe or whatever meme coin might be listed, they don't give me any background on the token or on the contract, or who they think may own it, or if that person or contract exists in other projects as well. Is that something that you're going to have? So there's maybe be a soft warning like, hey, this particular project has no known use case or utility for it. It's just like, this is kind of your typical meme coin.
I am definitely a big fan of doing something like that. Absolutely. I'm a big proponent of that. Whether or not it would be a blanket statement for those green tokens, or like maybe we'd have sections for them, like brand new listees, or top traded of the week, etc. You know what I mean? Like, I think we have the ability to customize and categorize, but I think warning messages are definitely a great idea, just to help people make informed decisions without, again, we can't provide them financial advice. People are still going to buy what they want to buy.
That's true. And even those tokens or projects that claim that they have utility and use case, sometimes they don't last either. They're gone in months.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's just still the world we live in. Let's see, GF Burke, a local guy here. So how about something that the SEC, or that is SEC proof, POW, so proof of work, fair launch. So how about something that's SEC proof?
I might need a little bit more context on that.
Yeah, I think he's saying, so if any kind of proof of work tokens, I'm not sure exactly what he means by that. So maybe a little clearer.
I mean, also, if the last few months have taught us anything, is that nothing is SEC proof, because they will just make up rules to make it work.
Yes.
So
They absolutely will.
I don't even think the SEC is SEC proof.
Yeah.
Yes. Give them 6 months and they'll just change their stance.
Yeah.
As Gary Gensler likes to do. Let's see. Infinity Resolution says, will KTO be listed on any other exchanges, or have KTO exchange on be the main source to purchase the token other than DeFi, like Uniswap?
As I said before, it's a bit difficult, because we're not opposed to listings like that. They're fantastic. We love giving people the opportunity, but as I said before, they are downright predatory. I've been in a lot of these meetings, and I've been in them for other projects as well. I've seen how different projects are treated based on how popular they are. And because we don't have vested tokens, we rely solely on the tax, which is, again, directly correlated to how much volume we're getting. It is a lot of money. We're talking listing fee alone, tens of thousands of dollars that they will try and charge you, and then they expect you to provide your own liquidity, which for a good functioning pool, you're looking at minimum like 25K of each token, so 50K. So you're already up at like 75K just to list on a like B tier exchange. So it's not cheap, which is why it's very difficult. So it's not something we're opposed to. It's just, it's not something that we can just simply decide. Like we do not have that kind of money, like especially as we ramp up with the exchange. We need to be not only seeking VC investment as well, and funding, but liquidity, for our own exchange is going to be costly, especially for those established tokens like your Bitcoins and your Ethereums and whatnot. So it is on the cards, but it's not a priority, because it's just simply too costly. It's not a
right. And I think timing plays into it as well.
Of course.
And it doesn't give enough benefit for how much it
there's
costs.
right now, there's no utility to Kounotori yet. right? You're still building, and so there's no
Mhm.
reason to be on these exchanges, and pay that kind of money for something that really isn't. You don't have a working product yet. Yeah, that's still several months
Mm.
away, which is understandable, right? And I hate to see people in the community come in and say, when are you going to get on all these exchanges? Because they think that those exchanges are going to bring the big volume that's going to increase the token price, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. Right? If
Mhm.
there's nothing really to purchase, then it just, you're just asking them to pay more money for something they don't really need right now. They need to put that money into, other things like building the service you're offering.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and two of the primary reasons, actually, one of the singular reasons why exchanges, you have Joe over here or Tom over there, they're comfortable in one spot. They want to invest on that particular platform that they use, and that would be one of the reasons we want to be everywhere that KTO, could be. But as Queenie said, it has to financially make sense. And in a much more financially suited world, maybe that will be the case, but it's definitely not on the immediate right now.
And the other thing as well, people are used to projects where they have given themselves trillions of the project's token, so they can provide liquidity quite easily. We aren't in that boat because, again, we don't have access to vested tokens, and also the transaction tax is designed to be received in Ethereum and then converted to USDT to A, retain value, but B, make sure that we're not dumping our token every time we need to spend money for the project. So
community doesn't like that.
No.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
No, they don't.
It's a different beast. Also, it looks like, I think Burke clarified a little bit. He said like BTC under the same way it launched. So I think maybe you're saying what if we were to do something that was SDC proof? A bit late for that. We'd have to start a whole new project if that was on our if that was sort of in our wheelhouse. It's not really what we've set out to do. I think it's a great idea for other projects, but yeah, not what KTO is about.
Gotcha. And this, I'm going to ask a question, and I don't know how much time you guys have. I want to be respectful of your time, so let me know if you have to go. I mean, we can talk crypto all day long.
Saturday morning for me, so I'm good.
So, and this goes back to marketing. I know you're still early on this, right? And you probably haven't even put a lot of thought into that, but going down that path, and I'm a big proponent of trying to get new eyeballs into the space, right? And if you look at where we've come from, even for the last 2 years, I don't think we have a lot of new money coming in. I think it's the same groups of people just going around from project to project to project, pumping and dumping, basically. Whether it's a good project or not seems irrelevant. So getting those eyeballs outside of crypto, to see a project, and obviously usability is going to be an issue. And if it's very easy to use, that's going to be very helpful for anybody new. If my mom can use it, then, I think it'll be successful. So have you even considered that aspect of it?
The user-friendly aspect of it?
No, the getting people outside of the current, group of people that are in crypto. That
it's constantly on our mind trying to get new eyeballs on. It's been a big challenge. Again, something we sort of inherited from the original structure is there was definitely some sort of like shadow banning going on with a lot of the Twitter accounts associated with the project early on. It was something that I sort of noticed. And even down to like, I did some tests where certain hashtags that had KTO in them and stuff like that, the reach was just like a tenth of what other ones would get, or if you just simply didn't use those hashtags. So we've had to really pivot and adjust. And we have, we've got Twitter Gold, so business Twitter at the moment on the exchange account, and the primary account sort of linked. And yeah, we really want to. We'd love to do like advertising and sponsor like sporting teams and things like that. Like we had a winter sport. Someone in our community had like a KTO jersey because they were doing a winter sport competition. I can't quite recall who it was, but that was really cool. Definitely something we want to do. But one thing you realize as soon as you try and do any kind of traditional advertising is, oh man, they don't like crypto advertising. They do not. Even Twitter, that you try and do like sponsored ads for crypto.
Right. Yeah, we're not there yet.
Nope.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So yeah, it's really still, unfortunately, like, tell your friends, tell your mums, tell your anybody who'll listen to you, whack a bumper sticker on your car. It's very much still word of mouth, unfortunately.
Right.
But we, in terms of thinking about it constantly, we'd love to be like the first exchange that new people to crypto use in the next run. People who are like, "Hell, that crypto thing is kicking up again. I didn't try it out last time. I should give it a go this time." Like, I'd love to be that exchange that is for beginners.
Hey, check out KTO. That seems simple to use.
Yeah.
I've been on some exchanges, and obviously I've been in here, for a while,
Mm.
and I've been on some that I've just like I can't. Even a veteran, is going to struggle to get themselves around all the different wallets and how to bring money in and get money out, and it's just
That's crazy.
definitely not user friendly whatsoever.
I remember the first time I looked at Binance, I just about went cross-eyed. I was like, "There's so much going on." It was, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
it's ironic because the one I use is actually owned by Binance, but it's an Australian exchange that I think Binance is their parent company, but they go by a different name. And theirs is a lot more simple, much more simple. But I was brand new to crypto. I was looking at Binance and I just went, nope, and I just closed it. I was like, nah, I don't know what any of this means.
How do you feel about? I'm not going to ask you how you feel about cold storage. I mean, I think cold storage is pretty smart for most people if you're long term, holding anything and you're worried about safety.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, and I'm sure you've heard of the dust up that Ledger had, when they came out with this, which I think was a good idea. Going forward is just poorly laid out and poorly kind of brought to market, was the fact that somebody else or an offsite cloud server could hold your keys, right? Which obviously in the crypto space seems like a big no-no. Like, nobody would ever do that. Why would you do that? But thinking about bringing those new people in, right? And then this is a perfect example. I talked to my boss who's got some money, and was interested because he's been, he listens to me talk about it a little bit. And he's like, well, I should put some money in. And what about that ledger thing you were talking about? And so I was kind of explaining to him about the seed phrase, right? If you lose your password or you lose the little device, you can buy another one and you can upload your seed phrase and you're all good. He's like, well, what if I lose my seed phrase? What if my house burns down?
Don't.
I'm like, well, then all your money is gone. And right then he's like, well, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, why would I ever do that? That makes no sense to me. And I'm like, you know what? That's 100% correct. Most of the people who live in this world don't think like, us who are already in crypto, right? They're thinking, I don't want to be responsible for those 24 words or 12 words, whatever it is, right? If I lose it, I want to make sure I can call somebody on the phone and get my money back. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't think we're going to see that, the mass adoption until we address those issues.
Absolutely.
I mean,
right.
Those are the exact kind of people who would use the centralized exchange, though, for that exact reason. Like, they like not your keys.
Yes. Where's the customer service number? Because I got questions. How are you going to attack that customer service aspect of it? Somebody's got a question, or obviously you can't do anything if they send something to the wrong address or on the wrong blockchain. There's.
Well, there are actually some avenues for recovery. I've seen people have success with some exchanges, but I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very much in line with our values. We need to have good customer service and have it, round the clock support and facilitate as many avenues as possible. Of course, there are times where, what you do is irrevocable, but I think if you give enough guidelines, enough warnings, enough, educational material, like, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? So we can put up all the baby gates as much as we can, but people will still find a way to make mistakes. But I'd like to think that we can help mitigate that and have it be the rare case, not the common one.
Right. And that's just so you recognize that's how you're going to be able to bring in much more, to the fold, as opposed to, no, you have to be tech savvy and you need to understand and follow by these rules. Otherwise you're going to lose all your money. Like I remember the day I told him and he literally just said, nope, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I was like, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be that way. I'll hold your keys for you if you like.
It's always been a plan of ours to have, to have sort of a a simplified and an advanced view of the exchange.
Yeah.
So I don't see why the simplified one couldn't have. It's almost like, you know, when you play a video game and it'll pop up and be like, do you want tutorial hints, or like, do you want guidance while you're playing? I feel like those could very much be something that are implemented into that simplified view, where it's like the first time you open deposit crypto, it'll say you're looking at like the address that receives crypto. Make sure you select the correct network. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you could put these pop-ups, you could put these guidelines, you could put these instructions in for simplified views for people who don't know what they're doing, but have them removed in the advanced view and not annoy people who know what they're doing.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Have you guys seen any features, let's say, on other exchanges that you would like to incorporate into Kounotori?
Plenty.
Yeah.
I mean, and still keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Assessing the competition is kind of half the job a lot of the time. I mean, I love the educational approach that Binance take. I like that they have that sort of zone also for creators to put out articles and things like that. Like, I really love that. I think it's called like Binance Learn or something like that, I'm pretty sure. But that sort of educational community space that they have, I think, is a great feature that I'd love to have. Perhaps not, in the beginning, but as we develop. And there was something I saw the other day, but I'd have to go back and have a look. I can't remember which exchange it was, but there was something that I thought was really neat. Just the way that they'd laid out I think it was their calculators for yields and things like that. They had done something that I hadn't seen before. It was I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. I'd have to go back and have a look. If I see it, I'll send it through.
So Coinbase does that, where they have kind of a Coinbase Learn. I forget what they call it. I haven't seen it in a while, but where, every week or once a month, they put out maybe a little slide presentation on a specific token.
Yeah, Coinbase do a good one too. Yeah,
takes you kind of a basic walkthrough and kind of teaches you about what this is. And I thought that was good for anybody who knew and they want to just get that basic, what I call that 30,000 foot view of what a token is, so they can. So maybe I want to throw a couple dollars into that. Obviously, that's smart on their part. Maybe gets people to spread some money around on their platform. One more question I've got, and then you guys can tell me whatever it is, or tell us whatever it is you guys got working. And what you see on the horizon. And we talked a little bit about off ramps, right? On and off ramps. Mm-hmm. Now, getting onto an exchange is fairly simple, but then off ramping into fiat, is that something in the works? I know it's a tough one.
I'm pretty sure that's part of it, but definitely, Artie, if you have something specific.
Yeah, I don't have a very specific answer for it. It is definitely something that has been going around, something I have seen, but again, something we also would discuss with Tech Alchemy. It's on the list, but there's no firm confirmation on that one just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that people expect from their exchanges. I know I expect it from mine. Half the reason I use the exchange I do is because I can deposit fiat really easily and I can send it straight back to my bank account really easily.
Speaking of good Coinbase, I mean, I that whole Coinbase one, I thought when it first came out, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, how fast it is just to get money back to my bank, the trading fees it saves you. I do like that one.
Right. So I mean, I'm assuming there would be a plan in the future for that to be that one stop, so I don't have to send my crypto to another exchange and then order to pull my money out. Like, obviously you want to eliminate that as much as possible. Keep people on your exchange.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in ways I don't think I fully grasp the question there. Definitely an on, definitely an off.
Okay. Well, for somebody like me, I don't understand. I wouldn't understand the ins and outs of how that works. And I would think trying to turn your crypto into fiat is probably not as easy as it sounds. I know there's got to be regulations, banking regulations, and all that kind of stuff got to be involved.
Well, this is why we're also doing things such as fire blocks for asset management. We're looking into global payment services so that things are on the not only the regulated side but also the legal side of things, to protect the investor and ourselves, of course, and ensure it's done right.
Yeah, the main thing that's what I was kind of getting at is that a lot of the time it's less so about just simply providing the function and more that you don't realize until you're actually someone in the background of developing something like this, just how many third-party providers are involved with these services. Like there are as we said, like there are entire companies dedicated just to the asset management aspect, like Fireblocks are. And anybody who's like attempted to build their own website or their own online marketplace or whatever, they've gone, okay, now how do I facilitate payments? And then that, especially as you grow, it's okay if you're just doing something here and there, you can probably get by with just PayPal. But again, that's a third party provider. You're not writing up your own, unique strings of code to make it happen, for want of a better word, So there are a lot of third parties that are involved in making sure we vet them, making sure they're affordable, making sure that they do, what we need them to do.
Yeah, it's safe to say as we grow bigger, there's going to be just that many more environments we have to operate in, and that's probably every company out there.
Yeah.
So what do you see, as kind of getting into closing here, what do you see in the immediate future for Kounotori? Like what are you guys currently, day to day working on? Is it just the exchange itself, getting the bits and pieces and kind of trying to finalize certain aspects?
Yeah. So, I mean, the exchange is very much at the forefront, especially now that, we've got that full roadmap. The sprints are underway. We're having those weekly meetings. Definitely. Also making sure that the company, we've got everything set up that we need to, especially to attract VC investors. As we've said, everything is going to kind of hinge on that first beta, because how do you say, hey, invest in my product that doesn't exist yet?
Right.
So, it's a lot of moving parts, and it's a lot of making sure we haven't overlooked anything, expanding our board of directors as well for people who are much more qualified to be filling certain roles,
Right.
And things like that. And also just, our innovation team every single day, what can we do to shake things up? What can we do to keep the momentum going? But yeah, we've got a few months really to nail things down and make sure we are ready to go when that first beta hits, and make sure that it's,
And we're talking about September, October timeframe, or October-ish, I guess. I mean, there's no obviously hard date. We don't want to put out any hard dates because community doesn't really like that either.
No.
Especially when they're not hit. We know how that works.
Yeah. And that's the thing with development. We don't know exactly what might take more than 2 weeks and what might take less than 2 weeks with each of these sprints. Like you do run into errors as you go. That's part of development. That's why giving a concrete date is really difficult. But based on what we've been given, the second milestone should be completed around that time. So that's when we're expecting it. The other thing as well is that we've been working on the KTO converter, which is hopefully going to provide a sort of bit more friendly, cost-friendly way of buying KTO, because we recognize that although our contract isn't renounced, as I mentioned earlier in this chat, that we can't just change bits of it as we please, and unfortunately, because it has so many bells and whistles, it's a very expensive contract to use. So you pay more gas on it, not just with the tax, like you pay more gas trying to use to trade our token.
Right.
So the innovation team and developers have been working on a solution for that. So we are building a KTO converter sort of website, which will allow more details to sort of be ironed out with it, but I think allow certain, like perhaps whitelisted wallets or things like that to purchase KTO at a reduced fee cost, because being able to sort of buy in bulk, and it's almost like a little L2 in a way,
Right.
but it's sort of like a very simplified version without actually building our own blockchain, doing it through more traditional like web methods, I would say. But not my ballpark. Definitely something that Jackson, Nahana, and such can talk more on. And I do expect more details from them, but that's something that's currently in the pipeline and being worked on
Excellent.
as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
Artie,
should be good.
any last
Artie?
words from Artie?
No, Queenie covered it. Pretty much everything she just said is what we're working on. We're really excited about, the weekly updates coming through Tech Alchemy. It's as I've, the quiet in crypto space is always a rough place to live in, right? And we've been waiting for this moment to arrive where we're consistently getting those updates. So that's one of the things I'm probably most excited about is being able to talk to our community more about what's going on with the project they're invested in, and can't wait to see what comes next each week.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And I can say I'm a fan of the project. Anybody tells me, hey, come check out this project. They've been around for 2 years, especially these last 2 years. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm already in. You guys have managed to last this long. Like, obviously that says something about the team. Obviously you guys continue to get up every day. You maintain that same motivation to take the next step, to keep moving forward. And that's really good to see. So hopefully, maybe we can do this again, in a few months and see kind of what's going on, and
Absolutely.
and keep working towards this centralized exchange.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Thank you.
Working with my time zone.
Yeah,
Sorry
no,
about
it's
that.
it's a pleasure. I mean, it was 7 o'clock, PM my time, so it worked out perfect. I'm home from work, and it's all good. I do appreciate you guys coming on. And for everybody else out there, consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. And go check out KTO and Kounotori. All the links are in the description below. So feel free to go check them out and do some due diligence on your own. And then I'll be coming up with some more videos here in the coming weeks and months. So I do appreciate it all. And you guys have a great night. Or actually, you guys have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much as well.
All right. We'll see you.